Hey y'all, if there is one thing I cannot stand, it is tossing and turning at night because I'm hot and I'm uncomfortable. But all that ended when I was introduced to Cozy Earth. Crafted from 100% bamboo, these sheets are not only incredibly soft, but also they're breathable, they're moisture wicking, and they keep me cool and comfortable all night long. I literally sink into the bed and feel like I am sleeping on a cloud. They have everything from sheet sets to complete bedding bundles to comforters, everything you're going to need to get a night's sleep. And the brand has been featured on Good Morning America, In Style, Better Homes and Gardens. And guess what? They don't stop with bedding either. They got pajamas for both men and women. And I am telling you, they are the most comfortable pajama sets I have ever worn. They have bath towels, robes, tops, hoodies. If you wear it, sleep on it, or dry off with it, they got it. With free shipping on orders over $50, a 100-night sleep trial, and a 10-year warranty, Cozy Earth will bring you what it brought me: a good night's sleep and a whole lot of comfort. Exposed Podcast has partnered with Cozy Earth to offer my listeners 41% off by using the code EXPOSED at checkout. That's 41% off by going to CozyEarth.com and using the code EXPOSED at checkout. Sleep better, live better, choose Cozy Earth. Sweet dreams await.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Valspar Ultra starts at just $29.98 a gallon. So we've got you covered when your daughter wants to paint her room again after last year's masterpiece of a unicorn mural.
Dad, please.
Or when you realize that maybe you went too hard on the grayish.
I miss color.
Or when you were sure you wanted a home gym, but your elliptical is currently hanging your laundry.
What about a home office?
Shop everything you need for your next phase with Valspar. Available at Lowe's. Price varies by Shein.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Exposed, Scandalous Files of the Elite. I'm your host, Jim Chapman, and today I'm going to take you to South Carolina, and I'm going to tell you about two South Carolina troopers, Lance Corporal Hailey Bennett and Sargent Jacob Rodgers, with whom it was discovered that they were allegedly going wild, if you will, on company time. So I'm going to take you back about 6 months from today to March 12th of 2025. And on that day, Lance Corporal for the South Carolina Highway Patrol, a female by the name of Hailey Bennett, she gets a promotion. And she gets promoted to corporal. And shortly after this, all hell breaks loose at the South Carolina Highway Patrol. So this story has as many twists and turns as a country back road. So before I get into the story, I'm going to give you a cast of characters of who we're going to be talking about today, because there's several people. So we have two people that are directly involved: Lance Corporal Hailey Bennett, who got promoted to corporal, and Sergeant Jacob Rodgers. Now, also involved in this story are a master trooper by the name of T.R. Lutkin, T.R. Lutkin's girlfriend, Caitlin Howell, Master Trooper Casey Butts and his wife, and a lieutenant who investigated all this by the name of J.R. Reap. Now, as I said, Lance Corporal Bennett, she gets promoted in March of this year to corporal. However, not everyone apparently was happy for her. Caitlin Howell, the girlfriend of another trooper, shortly after finding out about this promotion, she sends a series of texts, actually screenshots, to the wife of Master Trooper Butts. And those texts indicated a sexual relationship between Lance Corporal Bennett and her supervisor, who was Sergeant Jacob Rodgers. And she also claimed that it was this sexual relationship that led to the promotion. So the South Carolina Highway Patrol, they get wind of this, it's reported to them, they gather some info, and they start an investigation. And the first thing they do is they check out the screenshots of the text, not only between the parties I just mentioned, but some other parties as well. And here's how they read, and I have those in front of me. So Lieutenant Reap, he reviewed the screenshots, and this particular conversation, this first set of texts that I'm going to read you, is between Lance Corporal Hailey Bennett and Master Trooper T.R. Lutkin, whose real name is Tyler. So we're going to call him Tyler, and he's a guy. So Hailey Bennett says, you know that person in the situation you told me not to trust and the whole policy violation that goes along with it? You have about 5 minutes to change mine in the wine's mind as to why it's a bad idea. Tyler responds back, if policy is broken, it wouldn't be because of you, LOL. It's not to be trusted still because they have too many friends, that's for sure. Bennett responds, it does because it isn't my job and I can get rid of him the same way I plan to get rid of Kennedy. Tyler responds, that makes things interesting. Hailey responds to that, but at the same time, it has been months since I've had sex, and if I'm going to be accused of sleeping my way to the top and getting a truck, why not reap the actual benefits of it? Well, it is just a truck. I wouldn't go all out because of it. Hailey Bennett responds, yeah, but Dickens' last day is May 1st, and I know for a fact I have his vote. Tom Gannon, and they are all working on Brandon for his spot. I hate more than you know to do that to Betts, but they all say he has a bad attitude. I keep trying to tell them it's because of Olives and Brandon. He says he will block me from going to Troop 1, and I'm working with Jennifer because he is in love with me and he wants to keep me with him. Tyler responds, that is some kind of conundrum. Like, seriously. Hailey responds, you know, I'm not that person, but damn, I need sex. Months, Tyler, months. And Tom is a big fan of us together if that makes a difference. Tyler responds, I know, trust me, I know I'd be dead if that was the case, literally. I don't know what to tell you exactly. There's nothing I can tell you, to be honest, because you're your own person. I just don't know. Hailey says, I'm alone and so is he. He's asking me to come over. My head says no, but the no sex in Moss says yes. Plus, the whole everyone accusing me of it anyway doesn't help. Let's add to that the fact that Scott, who supposedly loves me and will do anything to make us work, said the only reason me and Renee are getting our cars is because it's good PR for the patrol, and that doesn't help. I'm a little bit jealous. But it is what it is. I'm sure that there are a lot of people that will be, but I really believe that Williams is the one who pushed that out now, and the captain may be trying to take the credit, but I'm sure it came from well above him. And I know I might be looking at it differently, but I'm seeing the recruitment aspect on this move. I mean, just think about the amount of females that are going to want to ask you questions now, and especially Renee in that Mustang. And I'm probably completely wrong on that because it would make sense. That's what he sent me when I told him. So he's on the way. Guess we will see what happens. Tyler responds to that freaking War and Peace text. Oh no, I just got all that. I was trying to get dinner ready and catch shit up. Hailey responds, he will be here in a few minutes. What the fuck do? I really honestly know better, but damn, I need some. And if he's going to keep me here, I should take advantage, right? I'm screwed career-wise if I don't. Tyler responds, I would say abort, but I don't know. Hailey responds, I'm thinking the same. Either way, I'm fucked, and I prefer professionally over personally. Fucking morals. So that was one set of texts they reviewed, and obviously very incriminating already because she's discussing having sex, right? Then the second set of screenshots were reviewed, and these screenshots were sent between Tyler's girlfriend, Caitlin Howell, and Hailey Bennett, and these were between July 17th of 2024 and March 12th of 2025. And we'll start with the July 17th text thread. Tyler's girlfriend, what are you wearing tonight? Hailey, tan dress, I guess. Hailey again, girl question, could you see the bruises right above the top of my dress? Tyler's girlfriend, what? Where were they from? Hailey, I'd tell you, but I'd have to kill you, so I'll eventually tell Tyler and let him tell you. Tyler's girlfriend, oh Lord, LOL, my lips are sealed and I have 0 friends. Hailey, me either, girl. I'll tell you, but currently have company. July 18th, the next day. Tyler's girlfriend, oh, how did that go? Hailey, let's just say it went to the point that we never let it go before. Tyler's girlfriend, shit happens. Hailey, yep, and sometimes it happens 5 times when it does. Wow. Tyler's girlfriend, ha ha ha, I'm so fucking dead. Tyler's girlfriend again is you know who and his wife splitting up too? Tell me to mind my business if you want. I'm just being nosy. Hailey, no, only together because of the kids. It's as bad as Tom's situation was. Tyler's girlfriend, fuck that shit. It does more harm than good. No judgment here. Tyler was married. I laugh and tell him all the time if I could go back, I'd do that shit again. You can't wreck a solid foundation. Holy smokes. Hailey Bennett, I don't blame you one bit. And yep, it only took us months to actually do it. Definitely not because we didn't want to, but because we would both lose our jobs because of it. And that sentence right there creates kind of a problem, right? She's admitting she knows it was wrong. Tyler's girlfriend, why? What you do in your personal life is your personal business. Hailey Bennett, because he's my supervisor, on duty or off duty, it doesn't matter. The next day, Tyler's girlfriend, oh, I didn't know that. I mean, I guess it makes sense because if it wasn't that way and you were picked for a higher spot, it would look like favoritism. If rules like that are in place, it keeps everything fair. Hailey, hey, at least I waited until I didn't get promoted to actually do it, and sadly, I'm smart enough to know that I can't do it again, unfortunately. Tyler's girlfriend, unfortunately, it's already done. It won't matter if it happens again or not. If word got out, it would be the first thing people would say. Also unfortunate that if word got out, there are people that are spiteful enough to go after your jobs because they weren't the ones picked. Hailey Bennett, yep, I knew that coming.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
into this job that it's the first thing anyone would say if I ever got anything, just how it is. I just know it's not worth my career, and as amazing as it was, I can't let it happen again. But damn, girl, it had been December for me since the last time I had sex. Tyler's girlfriend, looks like it worked. Congrats. And this was on March 12th, incidentally, of 2025. Hailey Bennett. Thanks, girl. So these investigators, they get those texts, and it's clear some shit has went down, right? So they review all that, and they start interviewing those involved. And on March 18th of 2025, they start with Master Trooper K.C. Betts. And that interview read like this. On March 18th, 2025, Lieutenant Reap obtained a sworn statement from Master Trooper Betts. The following is a synopsis of his statement, which contains paraphrasing. Master Trooper Betts recalled that on March 12th of 2025, after the SCHP, South Carolina Highway Patrol, announced that Lance Corporal Bennett was being promoted to the rank of corporal, Master Trooper Lutkin's girlfriend, Caitlin Howell, sent his wife, Miss Bett, screenshots of text message correspondence between Miss Howell and Lance Corporal Bennett. I mean, that's kind of messed up. According to Master Trooper Betts, the text message correspondent indicated that after not being promoted in an earlier round of promotions, Lance Corporal Bennett started having sex with him, and referring to Sergeant Rodgers, to increase her chances of getting promoted. Master Trooper Betts stated that after he reviewed the text messages between Miss Howell and Lance Corporal Bennett, he called Master Trooper Lutkin, who confirmed that Lance Corporal Bennett and Sergeant Rodgers were involved in the sexual relationship. Master Trooper Betts stated that Master Trooper Lutkin sent him additional screenshots of text message correspondence between Master Trooper Lutkin and Lance Corporal Bennett. Master Trooper Betts acknowledged the text messages never mentioned Sergeant Rodgers by name, but that several of the messages referred to the individual as Lance Corporal Bennett's supervisor. Master Trooper Betts recalled that he was in the same shift as Lance Corporal Bennett, and their immediate supervisor was on extended sick leave, which, according to Master Trooper Betts, was evident that the individual mentioned in Lance Corporal Bennett's messages was Sergeant Rodgers. Master Trooper Betts surmised that the text message, quote, "It does because it isn't my job and I can get rid of him the same way I plan to get rid of Kennedy," and apparently that was referring to former Trooper D.S. Kennedy, sent from Lance Corporal Bennett to Master Trooper Lutkin, meant that Lance Corporal Bennett was attempting to get Trooper Kennedy fired to keep him from being promoted before her. Master Trooper Betts further surmised that the message also meant that Lance Corporal Bennett would attempt to force Sergeant Rodgers to resign or get him fired if their sexual relationship ever went south. Master Trooper Betts explained that prior to receiving the text messages on March 12th of 2025, he had never had any indication that Lance Corporal Bennett and Sergeant Rodgers were engaged in an extramarital affair. Master Trooper Betts explained that the relationship between Lance Corporal Bennett and Sergeant Rodgers was inappropriate, so he reported the relationship to his direct supervisor. So with that, investigators wanted to talk to Master Trooper Tyler Lutkin. I'm just going to refer to him as Tyler in this scenario, and they get a statement from him. Tyler explained that he was aware that Lance Corporal Bennett and Sergeant Rodgers had been involved in a sexual relationship, but as far as details, he said he didn't have a lot of details. Tyler claimed that his only direct information regarding the relationship was from text messages between him and Bennett, which had been provided to the investigators. Master Trooper Lutkin stated, "I didn't ask any questions, and he and Bennett did not discuss her relationship with Sergeant Rodgers in person." Tyler stated that he was close with both Sergeant Rodgers and Bennett. So again, it was something I didn't want to involve myself in, he said. Tyler was given the opportunity to review screenshots of text messages provided to the investigators, and he confirmed the messages had been sent between his girlfriend, Caitlin Howell, and Bennett, and between him and Bennett. Tyler recalled that the text message correspondence between him and Bennett occurred on April 19th and 20th of 2024. Tyler stated he tried to advise Bennett against engaging in a relationship with Sergeant Rodgers because he knew the relationship would be inappropriate and a violation of policy. Tyler explained the reason he and Miss Howe captured screenshots of their conversations with Bennett was for, quote, covering my own self, just having any kind of documentation. Like I said, from previous experiences not being involved in something. Tyler stated that on March 12th of 2025, after it was announced that Bennett had been selected for promotion to corporal, Miss Howe texted Bennett and said, "Looked like it worked. Congrats." And Bennett responded, "Thanks, girl." Tyler stated that that's when Caitlin kind of put it all together. Bennett had benefited from the relationship with Sergeant Rodgers and was awarded the promotion. Tyler stated that Miss Howe's frustration with it was the tipping point, so she informed Master Trooper Bett's wife about the inappropriate relationship between Bennett and Rodgers. Tyler stated he had not applied for the promotion, so there was no personal frustration from him or Miss Howe regarding Bennett being promoted. However, Tyler said he was aware that Bennett, quote, gets more opportunity than other troopers at the post. Tyler claimed that Lance Corporal Bennett had admitted to being afforded more opportunities, but she claimed it was only because she was female. Tyler indicated that he believed the opportunities that had been afforded to Bennett were a result of her sexual relationship with Sergeant Rodgers. As an example, Master Trooper Lutkin explained that despite more seasoned troopers requesting specific training, they were denied the training while Bennett was approved. Tyler indicated that, to his knowledge, Rodgers could influence which troopers receive certain types of training, and he used that influence to benefit Corporal Bennett. Tyler was asked about the text message, quote, "It does because it isn't my job and I can get rid of him the same way I plan to get rid of Kennedy," that he received from Bennett. And Tyler stated that he did not know what personal issues that Bennett had against Trooper Kennedy, but, quote, "as far as Kennedy is concerned," and another former trooper named Coughlin, "I do not recall she would in a manner target what they were doing. She would tell me she would document what they were doing." Tyler claimed he did not know what policy and procedure violations Bennett was trying to document regarding Trooper Kennedy or Trooper Coughlin, and what they were committing as far as a violation. However, Tyler stated that as far as Trooper Kennedy, "I wouldn't put it past her. Her motivation was to prevent Trooper Kennedy from being promoted before her." Now, it also has in parentheses, Trooper Coughlin resigned from the South Carolina Highway Patrol on January 23rd of 2022, and on July 27th of 2024, Trooper Kennedy resigned. And it's saying they resigned for personal reasons unrelated to this investigation. Tyler also noted that in the portion of the message that stated, quote, "I can get rid of him the same way I plan to get rid of Kennedy," he said he believed Bennett was referring to Sergeant Rodgers as him in that text.
Jim, did you see what happened in Texas today?
Wait, before you tell me that, let me tell you what happened in New York.
It cannot be as crazy as the case I told you about yesterday in Louisiana.
You know what? We should do a podcast about it.
And with that, we did. Crime Wire Weekly covers the crime news headlines that have dominated the week.
We cover trending crimes from all over the country and even sprinkle in a few globally.
Crime Wire Weekly is available now wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Simply by searching Crime Wire Weekly or clicking the link in the description of this podcast. So at this point, the investigators, they got enough that they're thinking, okay, we need to talk to Hailey Bennett and get her side of things. And so on March 20th of 2025, that's what they do. And I'll just refer to her as Hailey as much as possible to shorten this. But it says Hailey recalled she became employed by the South Carolina Highway Patrol in 2018, and she was assigned to Troop 5 Post A. Hailey indicated that when she started her employment, Sergeant Rodgers was a corporal assigned to the opposite rotation, so they rarely communicated. Hailey explained that after Sergeant Rodgers was promoted to sergeant, he had provided direct supervision for the shift that she was assigned to due to her corporal being out of work and on extended sick leave. Hailey recalled that around December of 2023 or January of 2024, she and Sergeant Rodgers began to communicate more often and gradually got to know each other. Hailey explained that she and Sergeant Rodgers started communicating on a personal level through text message and occasionally in person in the patrol office. Hailey stated, "Last year was the worst year of my life as an adult, and Sergeant Rodgers also had a lot of things going on in his life, so we became better friends than we should have." However, Hailey claimed that neither she nor Sergeant Rodgers were pursuing a sexual relationship, but a sexual relationship ultimately developed. Hailey claimed that she could not recall who initiated the sex between her and Sergeant Rodgers, but obviously there had to be a point because something did happen. Hailey explained that on an unknown date near the end of April of 2024, Sergeant Rodgers went to Hailey's residence and they engaged in sex. Hailey stated that Sergeant Rodgers arrived at her home at approximately 21:30 hours, and his purpose for being there was explicitly for sex. Hailey recalled that she and Sergeant Rodgers engaged in various acts of sex, both sexual intercourse and oral sex, approximately 15 to 20 times between April of 2024 and March 6th of 2025. And you know how that goes. You can probably double that to 40 times. People always cut that number in half. Hailey initially claimed that all of her sexual encounters occurred at her residence while she and Sergeant Rodgers were both off duty. However, Hailey later corrected her statement. Hailey recalled a couple of months ago from this investigation, she could not recall the date, but possibly January of 2025, sometime around lunchtime, Sergeant Rodgers was on duty when he drove his patrol vehicle to her house. Hailey stated that she and Sergeant Rodgers engaged in sexual intercourse before Sergeant Rodgers returned to duty. Hailey stated it wasn't a romantic, drawn-out thing, so Sergeant Rodgers was only at her house for approximately 15 minutes. Hailey also recalled on December 11th of 2024, Post A held their Christmas dinner. Hailey explained that she and Sergeant Rodgers were the last two troopers remaining at the lodge where they had this dinner, and they had sex in one of the bedrooms before leaving. Hailey admitted that in addition to her house and the lodge, she and Sergeant Rodgers also engaged in various forms of sex in the, and it's redacted out. Hailey was asked to explain what type of sex had occurred between her and Sergeant Rodgers at the, and again redacted out, and she responded, all the above. Though through additional questioning, Hailey admitted that all the involved included kissing, hugging, sexual fondling, oral sex, and sexual intercourse. Hailey could not recall how many times she and Sergeant Rodgers had kissed, hugged, or sexually fondled each other while in the, and it's redacted out, but I would guess office. But she recalled having sex approximately 4 to 6 times while inside of the, and I'm going to guess office. Hailey corrected her initial claim that the first occurrence of sexual intercourse occurred at her house and admitted the first occurrence of sex between her and Sergeant Rodgers was in the, it's redacted out, let's just say office. Hailey also admitted that the latest occurrence of sex between her and Sergeant Rodgers occurred at Sergeant Rodgers, redacted out, on March 6th of 2025. Hailey stated that on at least 2 occasions, she performed oral sex on Sergeant Rodgers in his office, maybe, but she could not recall those dates. Hailey admitted that out of the sexual encounters she could recall occurring at the, redacted out, I don't know why these are redacted, she had been on duty and specifically recalled that during March 6th of 2025, she was on a holiday leave, but stopped by the patrol office prior to going out of town. Hailey recalled that Sergeant Rodgers was on duty and they were alone in the, I'm going to guess office, and Hailey stated that she was walking out the door to leave. Sergeant Rodgers pulled him in close to him from behind. Hailey admitted that she and Sergeant Rodgers kissed before going into his office and having sexual intercourse. Hailey explained that in an effort to ensure they had enough time to have sex and oral sex in the office, she and Sergeant Rodgers would monitor the radio and check the Smart Cop mobile CAD map to identify where the troopers were located. Hailey said that monitoring the radio in the cab would not have prevented anyone with access to the office from walking in on them, but she and Sergeant Rodgers were not really thinking about that. Hailey recalled that she and Sergeant Rodgers had engaged in sex approximately 15 to 20 times and other forms of sex such as touching each other in a sexual manner or oral sex up to 40 times between April of 2024 and March of 2025. So you can knock that up to 80, right? Hailey was provided with screenshots of text message correspondence between her and Tyler and her and Caitlin Howe. Hailey confirmed the screenshots were messages she had sent to and received from Miss Howe and Tyler. Furthermore, Hailey acknowledged that the context of her conversations indicated she intended to leverage her relationship with Sergeant Rodgers to obtain a promotion to corporal. Specifically, on March 12th of 2025, after it was announced that Hailey would be promoted to corporal, Miss Howe texted Hailey saying, "Looked like it worked, congrats," and Hailey responded, "Thanks, girl." Hailey acknowledged the message "looked like it worked" was referencing her relationship with Sergeant Rodgers and that she responded, "Thanks, girl." Hailey claimed that during her conversations with Sergeant Rodgers, she advised him not to recommend her for a promotion. "Regardless of anything that happened between them, I'm not the one," she said. Supposedly, they call and ask for 2 names. "If you don't believe that I'm one of the 2 best to send up, don't send up my name." Hailey stated that while I was completely stupid for what I did in this situation, all around professionally, personally, morally, ethically, I've worked and learned every job over there in that post that I could possibly learn. Hailey said long before she became sexually involved with Sergeant Rodgers, she started working towards a promotion someday. Hailey stated she earned the promotion to corporal due to her abilities and work ethic, not because she was involved in a sexual relationship with Sergeant Rodgers. Hailey acknowledged her relationship with Sergeant Rodgers, presented the indication that Rodgers had recommended her for promotion because of the relationship. However, Hailey reiterated that she did not become sexually involved with Sergeant Rodgers to advance her career. Hailey stated that if she had attempted to advance her career by having a relationship with a supervisor, quote, "it would not have been with someone at the bottom of the chain of command. I would have aimed much higher." Hailey said, that's wild. Hailey stated that she and Sergeant Rodgers had very similar personalities and allowed their friendship to lead to sex. Hailey maintained that her relationship with Sergeant Rodgers had no bearing on her being selected for promotion. When asked about the messages that she sent to Tyler, specifically the wording, quote, "it does because it isn't my job and I can get rid of him the same way I plan to get rid of Kennedy," Hailey claimed she could not recall who she was referring to in that message. Hailey stated that as far as her plan to get rid of Kennedy, she had intended to report him for alleged inappropriate conduct, but a report was never filed. According to Hailey, and all of the rest of that sentence is blacked out. And then it says, "but she never reported this allegation because if I report it, it would come back to be my fault somehow." Conversely, Hailey admitted that Trooper Kennedy had never made inappropriate comments or acted inappropriately towards her. Lance Corporal Bennett stated she had only heard from other troopers that Trooper Kennedy had alleged, and it's redacted out. Hailey claimed that her message to Master Trooper Tyler meant that if Trooper Kennedy had done or said anything inappropriate, she would report him and get him fired. Hailey denied the allegation. She intended to file a complaint against Trooper Kennedy to prevent him from being promoted before her. As for former Trooper Coughlin, Hailey claimed that the assertion that she had also intended to report allegations against him were false. Hailey said, "Me and Coughlin were friends, and she never tried to report him for any violation or procedure." So that is some pretty wild shit right there from Hailey Bennett. And now at this point, the investigation, who do you think they want to talk to? They want to talk to Sergeant Rodgers. This is on March 24th of 2025. He recalled that he began his career in 2006. He progressed through the chain of command to the rank of sergeant, and he obtained that rank in May of 2023. He recalled while at the post-A Christmas party in December of 2023, he and his subordinate, Lance Corporal Bennett, started communicating in a flirtatious manner. Rodgers stated that in the days and weeks following the Christmas party, he and Hailey's interactions progressed to, quote, something it shouldn't. As an explanation for how he developed the inappropriate relationship with Hailey, Sergeant Rodgers stated that he had been having trouble in his marriage, and he said, quote, "It's like you're eating bologna all your life and all of a sudden somebody comes along and offers you a tomahawk steak." And I'm sorry to laugh about that, but I can only imagine what his, I'm assuming, ex-wife now, after reading that, I can only imagine her feelings when she read that. He went on to say it just started out innocent and it just escalated. Rodgers explained his interactions with Hailey were merely flirting over the phone and in person until sometime in February of March of 2024 when the relationship became sexual. Rodgers stated that when he and Hailey's relationship became sexual, they would meet at her residence. He said it's been everywhere. I mean, anywhere from her residence to on duty. I'm not going to lie about anything. Rodgers recalled the day that he and Hailey first engaged in sex. Sergeant Rodgers could not recall the date, but he remembered that he and Lance Corporal Bennett had been working an overtime assignment providing traffic control for the high school basketball championships. Hailey and Sergeant Rodgers both worked the event, and according to Sergeant Rodgers, he and Hailey had been texting throughout the assignment, and in one of the messages he sent to Hailey, he asked to see Hailey's breast. Sergeant Rodgers indicated that since both he and Hailey were married and living with their spouses, they agreed to meet, and it's redacted, but we're going to say office, to fulfill Sergeant Rodgers' request to see Hailey's breast. Sergeant Rodgers could not recall the time, but he explained that he and Hailey met at the office and ultimately engaged in sexual intercourse in Sergeant Rodgers' office. Sergeant Rodgers stated that this was the first time he and Hailey had sex, and the last time that they had sex was also at the Post-A office, this on March 6th of 2025. Rodgers recalled that during this incident, he was on duty when Hailey, who was off duty, stopped by the office before she was going out of town. Rodgers admitted that before Hailey left, they went into his office and had sex. Rodgers admitted that he and Hailey had engaged in sexual activity, either sexual intercourse or oral sex, in his office more than once, but less than 10 times, and either one or both of them were always on duty. Rodgers ultimately settled on a number between 4 and 6 times, that means it was 12, right, that he and Hailey had engaged in sexual intercourse or oral sex inside of the office. Sergeant Rodgers stated that on some occasions he met Hailey at the office while he was off, but she was on duty, and on other occasions she met him at the office while he was working. Sergeant Rodgers explained that on those instances in which he and Hailey met at the office, it was for the explicit purpose of engaging in sex, and Sergeant Rodgers claimed that on other occasions he and Bennett would already be at the office for work-related purposes before engaging in sex. And he also, y'all, and I'll just cut this down for you so I don't have to read this giant paragraph, but he also confirmed what she had said about them having sex and looking at that mobile CAD map to make sure where the other troopers were and that they wouldn't walk in on them. And it goes on to say, when asked about that, Sergeant Rodgers stated that during his and Lance Corporal Bennett's sexual exploits at the time and at the office, they were, quote, thinking with the wrong heads. How's that for honesty for you? As for meeting Hailey at her house, Sergeant Rodgers repeatedly said that he was having trouble at home, and his wife, who was a school teacher, routinely took children out of town through the summer. which allowed him to travel to Hailey's house when he was off duty without raising suspicion from his wife. Sergeant Rodgers stated that he visited Hailey at least every other weekend at her house throughout June and July of 2024. He also admitted that on other occasions, to curb suspicion from his wife, he would report to work and then meet Hailey at her house while he was on duty. Rodgers claimed he could not recall the number of times that he traveled to Lance Corporal Bennett's home while on duty to engage in sex, but it was more than once and less than 10 times. How's that for a range? Rodgers admitted that at some occasions while at Hailey's house and on duty, he would remove his uniform to engage in sexual intercourse with Hailey, and on other occasions, he would, and it's redacted out, but it seems to lead to turning off his CB, if you will, his communication device. And he said he was not available to respond to calls or assist his subordinate troopers during these on-duty sexual escapades. And this is the main problem that I have with this whole thing, and I'll get into that in a little while. Sergeant Rodgers claimed the only other location he and Lance Corporal Bennett had engaged in sex was at and it's redacted out, in Marlborough County. Sergeant Rodgers explained that this was an event facility where Post A had held their Christmas party for several years, and he recalled after the Christmas party had concluded that Hailey had stayed later than the other troopers to help clean up the facilities. He explained that before they left, he and Bennett had sexual intercourse in one of the bedrooms, and so it must be that lodge that I referred to earlier. Sergeant Rodgers estimated that he and Lance Corporal Bennett engaged in sexual intercourse or oral sex approximately 20 to 40 times throughout their sexual relationship, which, according to Sergeant Rodgers, spanned from February of 2024 through March 6 of 2025. Sergeant Rodgers stated that he was not seeking a sexual relationship with Hailey. He said it's just one of those things that we allowed to happen, like the analogy I used earlier. I was eating bologna, and it was just one of these things that spiraled out of control. Boy, he's something with words. Sergeant Rodgers admitted his relationship with Lance Corporal Bennett was inappropriate. However, he was adamant that the relationship had no bearing on his decision to promote her. Sergeant Rodgers stated, if you look at her work ethic, work activity, by far, I thought she was the number one choice, whether we had a relationship or not. Sergeant Rodgers claimed that many of the candidates for the corporal promotion did not give us something to back as a selection for promotion, but Lance Corporal Bennett stood out and she was recommended for the promotion, not for me because of our relationship. It was because of her work ethic and the way she carried herself, knowledge of the job, stuff like that. That's why I recommended her. It was nothing to do sexually. Sergeant Rodgers claimed that he had not used his position to benefit Lance Corporal Bennett. According to Sergeant Rodgers, Lance Corporal Bennett had earned the opportunity she had been afforded through her dedication and work ethic. So, all of that gets concluded, and in these investigative jackets, if you will, and I'm reading one now, they have a conclusion. So what do you think happened, and what do you think the South Carolina Department of Public Safety conclusion was? I'm not going to go over that whole conclusion with you because it's pretty much a summation of everything that I've just read you. However, I will read you what happened to these two individuals. And we'll start with Hailey Bennett. Remember, she was promoted to corporal. It says, Dear Lance Corporal Bennett, this letter is to officially inform you your previously announced promotion to corporal is hereby rescinded. Additionally, your temporary assignment to Troop 1 Post B is hereby made permanent. And it goes through the violations, which they're saying basically that it was code of conduct that they had violated. And they went through all of the things that they had done and admitted to in this whole deal. So she loses her promotion. She remains a Lance Corporal. Now, in the case of Sergeant Rodgers, he actually got the book thrown at him a little bit harder. He got demoted from his post as sergeant, and he got demoted all the way down to a master trooper, which this is kind of a big deal from a monetary standpoint. So a master trooper makes about $75,000 a year with the South Carolina Department of Public Safety. He was making almost $86,000 a year. So he got like an $11,000 a year cut in money in addition to being demoted. So what do I think about all this? Whatever these people do outside of work, whatever, your business. If you can live with it, I can live with it, I guess. My issue with this whole fucking thing is while these people are out there fucking and sucking everywhere from their office to their houses to lodges to you name it, they're turning their radios off. And the problem I have with all this and why I'm kind of aggravated neither one of these people got fired, or both of them should have gotten fired, is they both admitted they were on duty when this shit was going on. This wasn't when you were off of work. Now, what if that was your child or yourself or your spouse that was involved in a robbery or something, and this guy needed to be reached for whatever reason, or this lady, and they were unreachable because they were having sex and turning their damn radios off. It's absolutely insane to me. But I think you'd be surprised how much this happens. Not only, there's good and bad in every profession. I know a lot of awesome Louisiana State policemen, okay? But I know a couple that are not so awesome as well, and these would definitely fall into the tracks of that. So just wanted to bring you something a little different. Some cops going wild today on exposed scandalous files of the elite. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, I'm Jim Chapman. Much love.